That's Prince Newman. It's Yours Radio Live, Live 97.5, everything urban, Breakfast Club in the morning, Ron Banks at night, Luxury Tax featuring Rick Rawls.
I like that joint.
Yeah, nice little vibe right there. Kind of flow similar to Nipsey.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Basically identical. But goes to show the influence that Nipsey is now having. You know,
I'm glad. I'm tired of hearing this weirdo rap.
Just say new weirdo rap.
Weirdo rap they used to now, man.
Yeah.
I can't do it, man.
Yeah, I can dig it, bro. One of the things that we look at in hip hop, but it was an article actually you posted on the It's Yours Radio Live page on Facebook. It was a really good article. And you touched on it just a bit, but break it down a little further, because you've been in the industry for over 20 years, so you've seen the ebbs and flows, and, where we are today.
Oh yeah.
Just share like a little piece of that article, and where we are today with it.
As far as what?
As far as the influence of corporate, because it's funny, because I would say in the mid 80s, early 80s, mid 80s, especially when Run DMC first broke on MTV, and hip hop became mainstream. You had Crush Groove in '85,
right?
You had Run DMC's King of Rock,
right,
breaking on in '85, '86 on MTV, the first hip hop artist to get regular airplay on there. So hip hop was starting to become mainstream. Run DMC got the deal with Adidas,
right?
First hip hop group or hip hop artist to get an endorsement deal through a major corporation,
right?
So '85 was kind of that year hip hop really broke into the mainstream. So even at that point, a lot of folks looked at hip hop as a fad. It's just a fad. It'll pass and it'll be done.
That's right.
And look at it now, still standing strong. But along the way, we've seen a lot of ebbs and flows in hip hop. We've seen the party. It started off with the party rhyming.
Right.
Yes, yes, sure. To the beat was more party rhyming. Then Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, they came through. Melly Mel, he came through with the message.
That's right.
So it was like the really first hip hop song that had a message, titled the song,
right?
But had a message. It was talking about a lot of things that we were going through. It wasn't party rhyming. It was more of a painting a picture through his lyrics, and almost like a reporter reporting how it is in the hood.
That's right. Right.
So he kind of changed the way MCs had to step their game up.
That's right.
And then of course you went through the era of the native tongue, and we had the Black Conscious era. And then we had NWA. I
think that was the best era, bro.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. And then NWA, they came through with the what we now they refer to as the gangster hip hop, which it was conscious, and depending on what artist you listen to, it was conscious in its own way. A lot of lyrics may have been brash and vulgar, but listen to, like you said earlier, F the Police, songs like that.
Right.
Those were, it was a brash, harsh way how it came across, but it had a message in it nonetheless. So, you had a lot of artists like that who Cool G Rap,
right?
And, guys like that, Just Ice. And so then you had the Nas's and the Rakims, and you just, going, you had the lyricists,
right?
Big Daddy Kane, Jay-Z, Big. And then you had the gimmicky rappers too.
Yeah.
You had them, trying to, the one hit wonders and all that. So
Humpty Hump and all
that. Yeah, exactly. Digital Underground, no doubt. Yeah. Jazzy
right.
Jeff and the Fresh Prince, he was kind of gimmicky. Although Jazzy Jeff was one of the dope, and still is one of the dopest DJs, to ever put it down. But yeah, so we've seen the ebbs and flows and so many different styles and so many different things come and go in hip hop. But now we see one thing that's really, I guess in today's hip hop, you have it's more of a monetary gain for so many that are involved in hip hop, but even more so outside of hip hop.
Right.
The corporations now have their hand in it, and really they control hip hop. Think about it, like in the early 90s, mid 90s, you had so many independent record labels come up, like Bad Boy.
Yeah.
You had No
Murder
Limit,
Inc.
Murder Inc., No Limit, Rough Riders. And, of course, G Unit.
right,
Rockefeller, all these labels, black-owned labels,
right.
they were running hip-hop.
That's right.
But as time went on and they started to monetize the situation, these major corporations like, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, these guys are starting to have too much control with the industry, you know, and then they saw it was a lot of money to gain at the end of the day. So that's when they started buying out these smaller labels, or just banning them in general. Or some of them just fell apart on their own because of internal beef, and you know they just fell. You know, their quote unquote empires fell just because on their own because of things they were doing and weren't doing. Death Row, prime example.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So then these major labels are coming in, and now they're controlling the narrative. They're controlling what these artists can say, not say, because if you don't say this, if you don't say A, B, or C, if you don't look a certain way, all of that, hence the skinny jeans and all that. Like you got to look a certain way, and you got to talk about certain topics, and certain topics you can't talk about. If you do, we're not going to sign you, or you're not going to put this record out. So. Just talk about that and how that just changes the game.
I seen, since I started in the industry way back in the I want to say the 80s for the most part, pursuing it that way, put it that way.
Right.
And I've seen so much of the feminization of black men now in hip hop because they had to dumb it down. One time hip hop was considered, these guys are, these rappers, they thugs and they gangsters and they drug dealers and they this and that. So over time, now you're seeing hip hop being feminized. You're seeing rappers like Young Thug. Well, you putting him in, you call him Young Thug, then you putting him with, he's got a dress on with his nails painted, and you calling this a thug. You know what I mean? And that's not the image of a thug that we know. But that's the image that they putting out there and the masses. And you seeing these guys, like you said, with the skinny jeans on and with their boxers showing and all of that. Well, we know from history that concept came from when you were in prison. You wore your prison trousers that way, so you let people know you was available when you was walking up and down the various tiers, through the prison. But now you seeing that being considered as now a hip hop. That's a hip hop thing. Even down in Ocean City when they see you walking around like that. Now it's $100 fine, which it probably should be. Nobody. When my son used to try that with me back in the day, and I'd say, you know what? Turn around, go back outside. Period. What you talking about? You ain't coming to my house like that. Go back out, pull your pants up. Oh, I ain't got a belt. Well, get a piece of rope, string, whatever you need to get. But you ain't walking around my house like that. So go back outside till you get yourself together. Hip hop now is, and I'm very good friends with, Kevin Lyles. He's CEO of Def Jam and Warner Brothers. Now he's the CEO of 300 Entertainment. And where we sometimes disagree on the industry is that whenever you have a network of non-black people, whether it's Jewish or white people, controlling the distribution, they control you. So these are the guys that are deciding whether or not your record comes out, where it comes out, and when it comes out. So they controlling the distribution of it. Corporate America now, being in hip hop, is more so a avenue for, once again, non-black Americans to use that as another avenue to bring down the black community. And they're using these young kids now to do it with, because anything that, when the last time you heard a positive hip hop song come from any rapper any black, white, whatever rapper, when the last time you heard one that was speaking of conscientious things, something to uplift black people? I hadn't heard one probably in the last 10 years, at least, period. But so that you got to understand who that's being controlled by, and it's all being controlled by non-blacks. And when you have non-blacks, they can put out whatever they want to put out, and it's all designed to, once again, further demise the black race. And that's where hip hop is went to. And I think for real, hip hop is at an all-time low, based on lyrics, based on intelligence. Some of these guys sound just like they straight up retarded, and they put them on a track and they zanied up and drunked up and highed up, and put a little beat on off a computer and they put them in the studio. No, they just mumbling.
Yeah.
You know, period.
Creativity too is at an all-time.
Oh
level.
yeah. So I think now it's no more hip hop. I can't even consider it hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of them want to use the term that it's you know, we're not rapping, we're trapping. You know what I mean? What's the difference? It's still the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you're starting to see more and more now the effects of the music that they putting out. Now rappers, it's not safe for rappers to pull up in some of these neighborhoods, not even to do a show because they killing them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now they want to say, you know, you had Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and these guys back in the day. They went and they met with all of the record label executives back in the day when you're talking doing the killing of Tupac and Biggie. Well, we're not going to support this, and we're going to boycott labels if they continue to put out this kind of music. So, in turn, all the A&Rs ran down south, and they got these southern rappers. Well, what are the southern? And it was supposed to be quote unquote more positive party music, you know. But that party music now is the new gangster rap.
I was about to say, what has it turned into?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. You know, and so whenever you got, like I said, non-blacks controlling, you know, black music, you know, let's just face it, they never gonna put out anything that's gonna uplift black people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the narrative I think that we need to change in regard to, you know, we need our own music distribution networks. We need our own radio stations and things. So then we can then dictate, you know, what we play, how we play it, and who we want to hear and who we don't want to hear. You know, because, you know, these guys are putting millions of dollars behind the marketing of these people. And that's where these guys, some of the guys that you see that do positive hip hop, they don't have that machine behind them in order to drive that music. You know, and this is where we falling short in the industry until we stand up as black people and say, you know what, we're not gonna stream this, we're not gonna buy this, we're not gonna show up to the concerts. Then the narrative will change then. Point blank. But as long as we continue to support that, you know, you can continue to get what you get right now.
Yeah, and you're exactly right about the putting money behind the machine, because every now and then you'll have a J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar pop up, but that's minute compared to the masses of rappers that they push down everyone's throats.
Then who's putting them out? Another black man.
Yeah, exactly.
Jay-Z or Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre, right, exactly.
No white guy would sign a J. Cole. No white guy would sign a Kendrick Lamar.
No.
Nah. You're going to sign, like I said, a Young Thug or one of these Young this and Young that one, and, you know, little this one and little that one. That's all they're going to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Prime example, we just played Rhapsody, one of the, I think one of the most lyrical female MCs. Well, she's on Rock Nation.
Right.
Again.
Major label,
but it's through Rock Nation, as opposed to one of the other labels who, you know, they will put out a Cardi B or one of them, the City Girls or whatever, and that's all fine and dandy.
Right.
But if it's something conscious or something thought provoking or, like you mentioned, uplifting,
right,
you know, to our folks, they're not getting signed, and they're definitely not going to get pushed.
Right.
So I mean,
you got Megan Thee Stallion. All she talking about is I'm a big old freak. I do this, and this and that. And then this, and that's what you promoting to these young ladies.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm a big freak. Y'all do this, I do that. I can ride it like this, and I can suck it like that. That's what you promoting to the young ladies. When we came up with MC Light, Queen Latifah, you know, we came up with that sort of hip hop. You know what I mean? Where they were, you know, they were celebrating black women for the most part. Now you're talking all the flea market rappers. They want to get naked and talk about how much of a big freak they are and this and that. City Girl, same thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's where we are now.
But like you said, they're using the quote unquote party feel to promote the negativity.
Miss DeWay just made a point on a live, and she's saying, you know, where are the Nas's and the KRS Ones and the Mobb Deeps and Twalib Kweli? You know, where do those days go?
Yeah.
You know, well, you know,
like you said, look who has control, because the game is monopolized through the radio. You know, we already talked about the record labels. It's a big three, big four.
Yeah,
that runs
much.
It.
Yeah, I was part of that time when, you know, everything was separate, and then everybody merged together. Like Sony was a totally separate company. Now it's Sony BMG. BMG was a separate company.
Right.
You know what I mean? So now you have all of those guys are together now. You know, because everybody was, you know, EMI and all these other distribution companies, they started struggling. So now you have just everybody is the same thing. And you got these little guys down south, that they don't have what you call record deals. They have what you call production deals. So like Quality Control, who puts out like a lot of these guys, Migos and Lil Baby and City Girls, all them guys, they're responsible for that. But these guys are they have production deals. They're not real record labels. The real record labels reside in New York City. These are the guys that are the Jewish guys that are making the real decision. These guys they're getting pennies on the dollar compared to what these guys are really getting. Because the payout structure, you gotta understand the music. When you drop an album, you got 100 points on the album. So when you got 100 points on the album, it might be, this producer getting 3 points, this producer getting, and all of those points equate to a dollar amount. Of course, the record label's job is to make sure that they retain most of the money when you selling. That's what they do. So by the time it gets down to these little production labels that you think are label, they just nothing more than production companies that say, put this music out, because they can't do it themselves. So they get these little guys and they call them quote unquote labels, and they just the guys that's behind fueling, these guys, Migos and all of these guys.
They distribute
for
them.
That's all they doing is distributing.
So about how much would an artist, how many points would an artist get on average?
Well, it depends upon if they produce the album. It depends upon whether or not they it depends upon how many points, and a lot of these guys in these production companies, I know a few artists that got burnt with that. They use these artists like, for instance, the Migos that already sold, million plus. Then now they go back to the label and they use these guys for collateral per se. We're gonna give you, label give them, 2, 3, maybe 500 million, based on the sales of their last album. But what the artists don't understand, you now collateral until these guys that are actually controlling the label pays back the major label, you don't see a dime. And that's where they get screwed up. I did a whole tour and I didn't get a dollar. Well, you didn't understand that these guys already got your money. They got your money in what's called an advance. So, and that's why the artists won't see anything, because they don't have it to pay out, because they already got it. They just didn't tell you they got it. Right. When they sitting down with these executives and things in New York, and they giving them, big checks. A lot of those big checks are based on future sales, so that's where it comes in to that recoup. That it's called a recoup, because I tell anybody, record label is just, a high interest loan. That's all it is. It's just a high interest loan. You're gonna pay it back no matter what, and unfortunately, I'm gonna say it like it is. These guys that are controlling black music, they care less about black people. Period. They don't live in a black neighborhood. They're not even gonna visit a black neighborhood. Period. They care less about black music. They care about the dollar amount. That's it. We don't care if this music influences gang violence. We don't care if this music pretty much degrades black women, and that's a
It's yours.
Yeah. Sunday, fun day. Turn your radios up. Donni-Oh, J-Mo. Are you ready to what? 97.5, it's yours radio live. From 4 to 7, you can chill before it's back to your job. You decide on your Sunday moves so you can cool out and groove out to Sunday school. If you coming from the sand, stuck in OC traffic, Ill Kid, the mixtape boss with OG classics. Anything from BDP to DOC. And of course, taking the sports break with POV. You get the news. It's real, don't ever get it confused. If the word is in the street, we'll definitely bring it to you. Get in tune, Mr. Whitlock, Sheriff Dave Clark. They both blind, that's the reason why they stay lost. We for the people, that's the reason why we stay truest. Look at the coons, always trying to dance their way through it. If you got bars and send them in, just make sure it's clean and ill or give it a spin. If it's hot, then it's here. If not, it's gotta go. Hip hop and neo soul. J-Mo and Donni-Oh, let's go.